Hello and welcome to Super Great Kids Stories, wise tales from storytellers around the world, which will make you laugh and sometimes cry. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim and I love stories. Hello, Super Great Kids. How are you? I hope you had a good week. One of my reasons to be cheerful right now is that I'm going on a short trip to Spain to go walking in the hills with some friends. Lucky me! I'm hoping to see lots of birds and wildlife. And another reason to be cheerful is that talented storyteller Warren Foster Sr. is going to tell us a second Dreamtime animal tale. Warren enjoys being outdoors and watching the wildlife near Wallaga Lake in Australia, where he lives. The story he's going to tell us is about a trickster frog called Googety and a lyrebird, which is a popular bird in Australia with a beautiful tail. A lyre is a kind of ancient stringed instrument which was all curvy, a bit like the lyrebird's exotic tail feathers. The lyrebird has an amazing skill to be able to copy lots of sounds. I suppose a bit like a parrot, but he doesn't just copy the sounds of other animals around him, he also copies man-made sounds which he hears in the forest, like chainsaws or car alarms or even the sound of a digital camera clicking. The story that Warren is going to tell us explains how Joolah the Lyrebird got his magnificent tail and his amazing voice. Now, just before we hear from Warren, here's a little riddle for you. Can you guess which animal this is? I begin very small and I like to wriggle. If you hear my voice, it would make you giggle. I'm like a fish, but I have no fin. I've got big eyes and I like to sing. I have a long sticky tongue to catch my food and a juicy fly can lift my mood. What am I? You have a little think about that while we have a quick word with the grown-ups. Ready? Off you go. Hello, Super Great Kids, I'm back. Did you guess which animal I was talking about? Give yourselves a pat on the back if you guessed that the answer was... Ribbit. A frog. A trickster frog is one of the animals who appears in this week's story. So, without further ado, let's give a big hello to storyteller Warren Foster Sr.
Hello, my name is Warren Foster Sr. I am an Indigenous Australian and I'm about to tell you a story from the Dreamtime, when the animals were quite new on this earth and still had a lot to learn. This story, which I'm going to tell you, is about how the lyrebird got his voice.
Long ago, way back in the Dreamtime, the animals gathered in the country for a big bunan, or competition, to decide who was the best at jumping, dancing, singing and running. First, they had a big jump-off. All the feathered creatures competed with all the furry animals, all except for Joolah the Lyrebird, who was just too shy to take part. Burro, the kangaroo, and Muria, the emu, were all fired up and ready to go. Boing, 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 went Burro the kangaroo, taking mighty leaps skywards. Thump, 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 went Muria the emu, stamping and jumping with his strong feet, making dust fly everywhere. Thump, boing, thump, boing, thump, boing, went Burro the kangaroo, thumping his strong legs, jumping higher and higher into the sky, disappearing in a swirling cloud of dust. Burro the kangaroo was judged to be the winner. Muria the emu was not pleased at being beaten. but he waited for his chance to win the dancing competition. He strutted and he bobbed and he ran around in circles. He was really impressive. It was Money Younger, the eagle's turn to dance. He swooped and he dived and he did triple cartwheels in the air. Maria the emu was judged to be the winner. All this time, Joolah the Lyrebird was standing a little way off, up on the rock watching everything below. Joolah the Lyrebird liked to dance. He would have liked to have had a go, but he was embarrassed by his tail feathers, which were grey and dull and dragged along behind him in a straggly mess. So he didn't join in the dancing. He stayed on his rock and watched instead. While Burro the kangaroo and Maria the emu were busy getting ready for their next event, the great race, they didn't notice Gorgody the trickster frog sitting under a tree. Back in those days, Gorgody the frog had the most beautiful voice in all the land. You could hear him singing and showing off night and day. He could also change his voice to make it sound like any creature in the bush. So Gorgody the frog, the chief mischief maker, shouted out Emu in Kangaroo's voice. Emu, you think you're so great at being the biggest and the fastest bird in all the land, but you can't even fly. You can only run. Even Joolah, the little willy wagtail bird, can fly higher than you. Maria, the emu, spun around and glared at Burro. What did you say? But Burro the kangaroo didn't reply, because he didn't say a word. It was Gorgody the frog who had spoken. The frog waited for Burro the kangaroo to look away, and then he spoke to Kangaroo in Emu's voice. Burro, you think you're so great at being the biggest animal in the land, but you can't even run all that fast. Even Boogly, the little marsupial mouse, can run faster than you. Burro quickly spun around to Emu, but saw that Emu was a long way away, over by the starting line getting ready for the race. Burro shouted at Maria the emu. What did you say? But Maria the emu didn't reply because he hadn't said a word. It was Gorgody the frog who had spoken. Burro the kangaroo and Maria the emu were getting more and more angry with each other. And I'm sorry to have to tell you that they ended up having a big fight. Now, because Maria the emu and Burro the kangaroo were the biggest animals in the land, they were the leaders, the bosses of all the furry ones and all the feathered ones. So, when they started fighting, all the other animals and birds joined in too. And all this time, Gorgody the frog was sitting under the tree, laughing at the trouble he had caused. He thought it was great fun to see the feathers and the furs flying, and the dust going everywhere. After a while, the feathered and the furry ones and the dust all settled down. The creator who was watching the whole thing from the sky came down to see what all the fuss was about. He gathered all the animals around him and asked why they were fighting each other. But no one could explain. The creator looked around and saw Joolah the Lyrebird standing apart on the rock, watching everything that was happening. He asked Lyrebird to come down and explain how the fight had started. But Joolah the Lyrebird couldn't talk, so the creator touched Joolah's throat, and straight away he got a voice. It wasn't the most beautiful voice, but it would do the job. The Lyrebird explained to the creator that it was Gorgody the frog who had pretended to be the other animals. He had copied their voices and tricked them into thinking they had each said unkind things about each other, when all along it was Gorgody the trickster frog starting all the trouble. Frog, come here right now, boomed the creator. Very slowly, the little frog hopped over. Boing, boing, boing. The little frog looked up at the creator. You, little frog, you have misused your special gift which I gave you. Now, I'm going to take your beautiful voice and I'm going to give it to Joolah the Lyrebird as a reward for helping me. The creator also gave the lyrebird a fine set of patent tail feathers to pull up over his head and show off whenever he danced in the bush. So that is why Gregory the Frog has a sad croaky voice, and why to this very day Joolah the Lyrebird can sing and dance, and is the proud keeper of all the languages in the bush.
Thanks so much, Warren, for sharing that story. I like the idea of the lyrebird being the keeper of all the languages in the bush. Sometimes languages do get forgotten if people aren't allowed to speak them. The language which Warren's people speak, a language called Durga, was lost for a while because it wasn't allowed to be spoken. Now Warren and the other people where he lives are waking it up again by using what they can remember of it. Some of the animals in this story are in that Durga language. Did you have a favourite moment in that story? My favourite bit was when the little frog hopped very slowly over to the creator, knowing that he was in trouble. That would make a rather good picture. Do you think you could draw it? The tiny frog looking up at the enormous creator who's frowning down at him, not happy. Did you notice too, that was a how and why story? Perhaps you could make up your own how and why story about another animal. And now, it's time to flip-flap-fly with Story Owl around the world and say hello to some new owlets who've hopped into our nest and joined our club. Let's start by flying to Austin in Texas in the US to meet owlets Day and Uma, who are 5 and 2. They listen to Super Great Kids stories with their dad on the way to school. And they look forward to a new story every Monday morning. It makes their journeys super great. Their favourite stories are The Ghost of the Bloody Finger, How the Kiwi Bird Lost Its Wings, Brer Rabbit and Brer Wolf, and Anything Anansi. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Hope you have a happy school run day, Anduna, and welcome to the nest. And let's fly up to Denver in Colorado next to say hello to superfans Bennett and Quinn. Bennett is 8 today. He listens every night before bed and also in the car with his sister Quinn, who is 5. Bennett has been listening for 4 years, which is half of his lifetime. Just think of the many words you've learned from all that listening, Bennett. Hope you have a happy day. And another owlet who's celebrating this week is Oka Wren, who is about to turn 6. She's also been listening for half her lifetime and has become an owlet for her birthday this weekend. Oka Wren loves to listen to the stories while she plays in the bath, in the car, and just about any other quiet moment. Ooh, 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 ooh. Happy listening and have a good day. Let's head west next to Grass Valley in California to give a hoot out to Mobius, who is 6. His favourite stories are Rooster Finds Gold and The Lambton Worm. Welcome to the club, Mobius. And let's fly across to Utah next to say hello to Georgia, who is 5, and Miles, who is 2. They love listening to Super Great Kids stories on long drives back and forth from their grandma and grandpa's house. They particularly like the North American story, The Whistling Giants, and they love singing along to its little rhyme, We will whistle in your ear, we will whistle in your ear, and we will suck your blood. Yes, you can tell I love that one too. It was the very first traditional story that I heard. And let's head east across the US to Concord in Massachusetts next to say hello to owlets Ellie, who is 6, and William, who is 9. Ellie's favourite story is The Brave Little Hummingbird, and William's is The Man Who Bored People to Death. Yeah, that is a good one, I agree. Another owlet who's celebrating this month is Tanzen Zangmo, who is 8 and will turn 9 in a couple of weeks' time. She lives in South Devon in the UK for half the year and in Goa in India for the other 6 months. She's half Indian and was given her name by a Buddhist monk from the Himalayas. Oh, that sounds very special. Lucky you. And we're heading east next all the way to China to meet owlet Lindsay, who lives in Beijing. Lindsay's favourite story is eggshell soup. Ah, yes. I love that bit where the baby says, "I want whiskey, I want tobacco." Lindsay likes listening to stories with her brother Lewis, whose favourite story is Hey Ho. Another cracker, Lewis, I agree. And we're heading to the north of the UK next, to Derbyshire, to say hello to Connor, who's just turned 8, and to Jossie, who is 5, and they live in Matlock. Jossie likes Baba Yaga stories, and Connor likes The Rainbird, and the whole family, but particularly Jossie, love telling The Ghost of the Bloody Finger to anybody who will listen. Happy storytelling. And we're off down under next to Sydney in Australia to say hoo, 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 to Eli, who is 6 and lives in Barara, just north of Sydney. His favourite story is Tazan and the Shining Fish. Ooh, that's very brave of you to listen to that one, Eli. It's a scary one. You get all my respect for having the courage to listen to it all the way through. That's it for Owlet Welcomes this week. More next week. Thanks for your patience. And our Pick of the Week picture for the many you've sent into our Facebook and Instagram picture gallery goes to 9-year-old Nora from Spain, who sent in a super great pic of what she imagines it would look like if Baba Yaga the Witch met Anansi the Trickster Spider. She tells us that Anansi has played a trick on Baba Yaga, putting something in her magic potion that makes it a good one instead of a bad one. And all the smoke coming out of the cauldron is a delightful mix of rainbow colours. Baba Yaga does not look happy at all, while Anansi is doing a triumphant cheeky little dance. Well done, Nora. I just love it. And thanks to all of you who sent in pictures to our Facebook page this week. If you'd like to see any of the Super Great pictures sent in recently by some very talented Super Great Kids fans, go to facebook.com/Super Great Kids Stories. And if you follow us on Instagram, we now have an account to show all of your art. Search for supergreatkids_art. Do take a look at our new picture gallery. That's it for now. More hoot outs next week. And thanks very much to all of you owlets who continue to support our podcast. If you'd like to join us on Patreon or on Apple Podcasts, we'll say hello to you on the show. You can hear our stories advert-free, and you'll get access to our Super Great Kids Stories Express with short introductions, no adverts, purely story. Great for listening to stories back to back. And you'll have access to over 40 Owlet bonus stories and at least 27 super great scary stories, with some bonus subscriber scary stories coming up soon for Halloween. That's it for today. And if you'd like to join us for our online show with Kim and Jason Buck on November the 16th, one ticket works for the whole family. The details are on our website under news on supergreatkidsstories.com. I hope you have a happy week. keep telling your stories and singing your songs. This podcast was produced at Wardour Studios in fabulous Fitzrovia in London.